real fast on something. I finally got answers in Genesis. I got Nathan to see one of my questions, but I think he didn't understand what I was saying. But I want to show what he said pretty much and talk about that real fast.
And Lion Farmer said, where's that question gone? Hang on, let me get that back.
I'm watching it real time too. All these coming down the screen. Got to keep up with them.
He said, I debunked Jeanson's work already as a haplogroup doesn't make CT haplogroup. So a Hamite can't make Japhethites nor Shemites.
He might have to retype this, or Lion Farm might have to retype this because it's not quite clear to me what this question is asking. I think what this is implying.
So I think he didn't understand. That's why he's like, you got to retype it. What I said was that I already did a video on how he basically tried to make a monophyletic group with connecting A and B and C, G, H, and D and E. And what I already confirmed with multiple geneticists is that that's not how they're actually connected. That A groups don't actually make CT groups, and you can't even connect the A and B with a D and E with just F, C, G, and H, because there's multiple reasons. But I'm gonna let it continue. Just get the whole understanding of the picture. What he's saying. I don't know what happened, but I think he thought I was talking about evolution.
He might have to retype this, or Lion Farm might have to retype this because it's not quite clear to me what this question is asking. I think what this is implying, and may have to maybe clarify, but I'll go with what I think the question is saying and try to address that. And if I've misinterpreted it, we can revisit it. In the mainstream view, not only do you have a different time scale, you have a different orientation to the tree.
So obviously, in the mainstream view, they know that A groups, this is what they say in mainstream, and no one believes it. I don't believe it. Nathan doesn't believe it. What the mainstream tries to design is that everyone evolved from monkeys and everyone was in Africa. He doesn't believe the out of Africa idea. He doesn't believe the people began from monkeys. He doesn't believe evolution. So the thing is that people start at A group and then they go from A and they go and make everyone else. So, but that wasn't what the question was. The question was more because the A and B groups are monophyletic, right? They're one family, but they can't be one family under lineages under CF, because CF makes everything like GHIJK, IJK, and everything down from that SNP. And the fossils of GHIJK and IJK was found. Also, C and F were one. DE is from CT. So A and B is so far from D and E and the CFGH groups that it's such a imagination to try to make A one family if we're trying to make them Ham, Shem, and Japheth with F itself, because that's saying if F is a Hamite, right? If F is a Hamite, then F is making HIJK, IJK, and everything down from that SNP. That would mean that everything from F, anything born from F, would be a Hamite. That's what that would mean. That's why that doesn't make sense. That for him to claim A and B are Hamites, D and E are Hamites, and F, C, G, and H are Hamites. Just F alone being Hamites causes every single branch on the branch of all humans to be Hamites. Because we know that A doesn't make CT, but F makes IJK. F makes GHIJK, F. We know that A doesn't make them, but F certainly does. F certainly makes IJK. There's one lineage. So that's what I was more concluding. What I should have did is make it a little more clear is that F doesn't make CF or even CT, and it definitely doesn't make F-M89. Because if A makes F-M89, F-M89 makes everything underneath it, which that means that F-M89 makes GHIJK, HIJK, IJK, which are all fossils. They're one person, which are all fossils. That would mean that IJ, which he calls Japheth, and K, which he calls Shem, being under both of those being underneath the same lineage of F would make them all technically Hamites if we're going by the biblical narrative, because that would make no sense to declare that F will be a Hamite, because F-M89 is the father, the grandfather of IJK, all the IJK lineages. That's involved in T, that's involved in R, that's involved in O, and all those in between. So that was a statement. The statement was rather about monophylactics. I probably should have stated that in there, that it's a question on monophylactic groups. The way that he made the split doesn't make sense. How can we make a lineage Noah? Where is Noah? Are we saying to ourselves that because he makes IJ Japheth and he makes K Shem, are we saying that IJK is Noah? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you make that? How do you even make it make sense? You know, how do you make it make sense? How do you make, where is Noah? Where do we put the split? You know what I'm saying? That was the point. The point was that he made everything from A, and the only way that works if you're looking at it at the world's view. That's the only way it works. You have to look at it from the world's view. You have to make it all begin at A groups and everything from A, B, and then somehow forgetting the fact that the reconstruction of Outer Africa says that A doesn't make CT, and just connecting those CT groups, which CT makes F, G, H, and C, as well as DE. But CT is not made by A. That's what I was stating, that A doesn't make the CT groups. That just shows that that's a different family. That just shows that the A and B groups are different because A doesn't make CT groups. That's what the statement was. But he kind of like, I think he didn't understand. Either he didn't understand or he danced around the question. So I just let it play.
Where you put the root would be the scientific term, or the beginning of the tree. I've done it differently.
So this is what's interesting. He says that he made the root of the tree differently. So I'm really curious, where is the root? Like, what lineage is the root? Where's the split of the three lineages? Where's the root to declare who is Noah? If we make A and B Ham, D and E Shem, and CF Japheth, then we got an easy split of a root, because the root would be at CT and BT. But his split doesn't make sense, is what I'm saying. His split doesn't make sense monophylactically. Like, how do you make those one family? Because if we look on a family tree of Ham, no Hamite makes a Japhethite nor a Shemite, right? Like, Nimrod cannot make a son of Magog. Nimrod can't make a son of Eber. But on his design, technically, a lineage that has an F group makes everyone underneath it, right? You can look it up, F-M89. F-M89 makes IJK, K-M9, which K makes LT, it makes your P, which makes your M, N, O, R, and Q, right? All those are monophylactic under F-M89, is what I'm saying. If we make F-M89 a Hamite, that makes everything underneath F-M89 one family. That makes them all genetically related, because F-M89 are all genetically related. That's just a fact. That's just a fact in itself. So that's why I was asking, right, that the A groups don't make CT groups. So how is he making that make sense when it doesn't? How can you make an A group a Hamite? I believe A and B are Hamites, but to make C and F and G and H Hamites doesn't make sense, because they both come from F-M89, which we found a fossil of CF. We found a fossil of HIJK, which is one person, IJK, which is one person. These are fossils. All these are fossils that are found. Just kind of like how he combines I and J and makes them Japheth. He makes I and J Japheth. He makes I and J haplogroups Japheth. And I and J began as one. So that makes sense. I and J was one, and they make Japheth. But IJK is also one. But from IJK, he makes two different lineages. IJ makes Japheth, and somehow K makes Shem from his design. I don't think it makes sense because HIJK, GHIJK from F-M89 are one family. That's what I'm saying. A doesn't make CT is what I'm concluding. And that the only way to make it make sense to put those I want to see those three lineages at their root on a boat. I want to see what they would look like on a boat. If you can put three of those sons on a boat, because I could put them on a boat and make it make sense monophylactically. I could put A and B on a boat because A doesn't make CT. And I could put from CT, CF on a boat. And I could put DE on a boat. I could put A, B, CF, and DE on a boat and have Ham, Shem, and Japheth. How can you put a split? How can you put a split of A, B, C, F, G, D, E on a boat at the same time with I, J, and K? Because I, J, and K are one. But he splits I, J, and K and makes I, J, Japheth and makes K, Shem, is what I'm concluding. Is that it doesn't make sense if we was to split it that way. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm gonna let it finish.
Mainstream view does. Now, the mainstream view, just for those who aren't as familiar with it, says humanity evolved from primates in Africa, that the humans and primates had a common ancestor millions of years ago.
And that's what you see what he's saying? I completely agree with Jeanson right here. People didn't start off as monkeys. People didn't start off in Africa. So what he's concluding is kind of like he's taking a mainstream understanding is that they conclude that people started in Africa and they came from the A groups, right? I don't believe that. I don't think that all people came from the A groups. I don't believe everyone came from Africa. I don't believe in evolution. It doesn't make sense. And Jeanson also finds that true as well, that evolution doesn't make sense. But
anatomically modern humans evolved about 200,000, 300,000 years ago in Africa, and then about 100,000 to 50,000 years ago, these anatomically modern humans came out of Africa and then eventually populated the rest of the globe, 15,000 years ago for the entry into the Americas. That affects how you orient the tree, how they orient the Y chromosome tree. And in fact, maybe I can even pull this slide back up. I'm going to go back to...
all right, watch this. I want to show you the slide.
It might be easier to see it rather than me just try to describe it verbally. You'll still have to do some mental reorientation as I show this, but I think the point can still become clear. So let me pull up that slide.
I think he's robbing people by selling this book.
Minimize that. And if I've got to hit share screen. There we go. There we go. And if Tom can pull up that shared screen again, I think all right,
so
there we go.
Now let's look at this. Let's break this down, what you're seeing here. Okay, you see that I and J right there? He says I and J are Japhenites. He says I and J are Japhenites. But he says H, G, F, C, B, A, and A and D, or D and E, are all Hamites. That's what he says. He says these are all Hamites. He says these are Japhenites, and he says these are Shemites. Now this is what I'm concluding. It doesn't make sense when you look at the roots. When you look at the roots on how they actually are monophylactically, and I'm not talking about the world's view. I'm talking about how they fit genetically, how they actually fit genetically monophylactically. Is that I and J and K are one, and we have a fossil, an actual fossil of I and J, that I, J, K are one, right? Which remember T, L, and all these where you see SK, all those are underneath K, K-M9. But IJK makes IJ and all the K groups. All these are one, from one father, one fossil that's found, one fossil. And not just the IJK is found in the fossil, HIJK is found in the fossil, GHIJK is found in the fossil, and F is the father of them all. F-M89 is the father of all those lineages, is what I'm concluding. F-M89 makes all those lineages. So it doesn't make sense of the split, is what I'm saying, is that the split doesn't make sense. You can't put all these lineages on a boat and have them enter into their ultimate phase within one root. You can't put them into one root. You can't put DE, AB, CFGH as one. You can't merge those as in one person. You can't put all those in one person. You can't. You just can't put DE because F-M89 makes IJK, but it doesn't make DE. F doesn't make DE, but F makes GHIJK, right? F makes GHIJK, but F doesn't make DE. A and B doesn't make CT. So how are you going to merge them into one? How can you do it? If we was to trace these all the way back in time, can we put DE, CFHG, and A and B as one and have I and J as one without being underneath F, even though remember, F makes IJK, right? Can we separate IJK and F, and can we separate K and F and have those different lineages? Can we have an IJ without F? Can we have a K-M89 without F? Is what I'm concluding. Like, for example, if all the line of Helm was wiped out, right? If GHIJK was wiped out, can we have, if those was wiped out from the beginning, from the start, if Helm, let's say all of a sudden Helm died, let's say E, D, B, A, C, F, G, H was wiped out. Let's just say it's wiped out. Understand what I'm saying? Let's say they didn't exist. Can the I and J exist without F? Can I and J exist without F? Can K exist without F? No, because F-M89 makes IJ. F-M89 makes IJ. F-M89 makes your T and your L and your O and your N and your S and your K and your M and your Q and your R's. All those come from F-M89. Without F-M89, there would be no I, J, nor K. I, J, and K are one from F-M89 is what I'm concluding. That was the point, is that what he's doing is that he's combining lineages that make no sense to combine, nor will it make sense if you was to put them on a boat. If you was to put these lineages on a boat, you can't have IJK without F. So that means F is actually a parent lineage. F is a parent lineage that makes IJK. That's important, that they're completely bound like that. There's no way around it because there's fossils that contest of it. There's fossils that's found of F and IJK and HIJK that says they were one, that they were united. That's important. So you cannot have an IJ without F. So if F is a Hamite, and if I wipe out F-M89 as a Hamite, so that there is no F-M89, IJ and K doesn't exist. So how can we have F-M89 as a Hamite? How can we have F-M89 as a Hamite? Let's say if it's Nimrod. How is Nimrod F-M89 stopping Magog from being born? Right? Magog is going to be R or things like that. How can we have one lineage as F-M89? You can look it up. F-M89 makes IJK, GHIJK, and HIJK. F-M89 is the father of them. So if F-M89 is him, how can we have a Japhenite being born from him and have a Shemite being born from him? That's why I said that we know that A doesn't make CT. A doesn't make CT. So that means that's a different family. But yet he puts a CFGH as a Hamite, which in itself doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm concluding. But let's continue.
Oh, thank you very much. So what I'm going to highlight, not only invoked a different time scale, I've invoked a different orientation. You'll notice here these branches A and B, purple, orange, and even this section right here, that's much longer than these branches out here. The mainstream view will say that's not the beginning, they'll put the beginning right here, and you kind of have to mentally retwist and rebend these branches.
So let me just go back real fast.
The mainstream view will say that's not the beginning, they'll put the beginning right here.
So now I don't know why he points to R1. Now, I know he's a geneticist. The mainstream view puts the beginning at A. We know that the mainstream view puts the beginning at A, not at R1A, which the red dot's at R1A. I don't know why he points to R1A. We know that's like some of the later lineages, like the R lineages come later, and even the crazy mainstream view is the out of Africa idea. It starts with A, then all of a sudden you get some B's, then you get your D's and E's, and then you get those F's, those CF groups from your CT groups. And then later on, you get your R's and your K's and T's and stuff. But we know that they all popped up at the same time, right? That's what he's just illustrating, is that it doesn't actually start off as in one lineage making all other lineages. That's what I be expressing with the out of Africa idea, that A groups don't actually make everyone. That's why I don't understand why he pointed to R1. He probably meant to point at A, saying that that's where everyone starts. And then from out of Africa, you get everyone from said A group. But I'm gonna let him finish.
You kind of have to mentally retwist and rebend these branches around that orientation point. They're like all branches basically of the same length. They're all terminate at the same spot. And what this does is argue the origin of mankind among the African branches. Part of the reason they polarized the tree that way and put the beginning there is because that's where the chimpanzee lineage would come in.
All right, so maybe it was a slight lag because it looks like he put his pointer on the A right there. Now that you see where he said what he said they say that A groups are linked to chimpanzees. Why? Because eugenics. He even says it right there that the mainstream view is that they start off, they come from monkeys, and they say that this is the closest lineage to monkeys. But we know that's not true. We know genetically A groups are not closer to monkeys than any other group. Pigmentation is not a representation of people, nor evolution. Pigmentation doesn't represent evolution. So right here, he's correct on what he's saying. So I'm gonna let it continue.
Where you put the beginning depends in part what you say about evolution and the human connection or lack thereof to the primates. I've argued for a different reorientation. I think we've got a mass amount of evidence. So really what I might say to someone who says, well, you can't do that, I'd say, well, why does my orientation work so well? Why?
It doesn't. That's the conclusion he made. He said, my orientation works very well, but what he never did was put them on a boat. Show what it would look like if you were to put those lineages on a boat. It wouldn't make sense. That's why with A and B being Ham, D and E being Shem, and CF being Japheth, you can put those on a boat. If I wipe out A and B groups, you can still have D, E groups, and you can still have CF groups, no problem. If I wipe out D, E groups, then you can still have A, B groups, and you can still have CF groups, no problem. If I wipe out CF groups, you can still have D, E groups, and you can still have A, B groups, no problem. But with his design, if you wipe out the Hamite groups, which involve A, B, right, C, F, G, H, and D, E, you wiped out everyone. If you wipe out the Hamites based on his chart, you wiped out every last person because F-M89 makes IJK. So if you wipe out the Hamite lineage on his design, you wiped out every single person on the earth based on his design. Try it out. Try it out and try to make that design. Try to wipe out all the Hamites and see if you can have a Japhenite and a Shemite still. Try it. I guarantee you, if you wipe out F-M89, you got no Japhenites nor Shemites. The claim is that the chart makes sense, but it doesn't make sense, is what I'm concluding. Is that if F-M89 is a Hamite and you wipe out F-M89, you would have no Japhenites nor Shemites for his design. Because remember, his design, his ultimate design is illustrating that we can get those three lineages on a boat and have three separate families that don't make each other. Because remember, Hamites don't make Shemites, and Shemites don't make Japhanites, and vice versa. But with his design, a Hamite can make a Japhanite and a Hamite can make a Shemite because F-M89. F-M89 makes Japhanites or IJK, right? F-M89 makes GHIJK. F-M89 does make HIJK. F-M89 does make the confirmed fossil of IJK. That's 3 lineages proceeding from F-M89. F-M89 makes IJK, which IJ, he says, is Japheth, and K, he says, is Shem. But remember, F-M89 is the father of all those lineages, is what I'm concluding. Is that if we take F and make that a Hamite, then every single lineage under F-M89 is considered a Hamite, is what I'm concluding. And you can't say no, because you can look at it monophylactically and on a professional genetic chart, and you can see that F makes, right? It does not, F-M89 does not make DE. F-M89 does not make A and B. But F-M89 makes IJK. That's what I'm concluding. If F-M89 is a Hamite, then everything underneath it is a Hamite. You see what I'm saying? But let's continue.
Why does it make so much sense of human history? This is where the 100-degree change happens. The reversal of roles in the creation evolution debate. Someone's going to say, you can't do that. That's wrong. I'm going to say, well, why does it work? Give me something better. This is making great sense of the history that we know, that we all agree on. So why would I want to reorient it, folks, something like evolution? Now, another testable prediction of this view is that some of these branches, perhaps instead of adding 3 mistakes per generation between fathers and sons, might do 6 or 10 or something else. So if you're watching this and you might belong, you've taken a Y chromosome test and you belong to one of these longer branches, I would love to speak to you about measuring the rate of mutation. No one's done this. This is a literal future testable prediction. No one in the mainstream community has measured the rate of mutation, the rate at which fathers in these long A branches pass on Y chromosome mistakes to their sons. This would be a fantastic testable prediction because the evolutionary view says that all these rates should be identical.
So you hear what he's saying? He's speaking the truth that A groups cannot make everyone, is what he's concluded. He's saying that that long stem from the A is not actually that long. It's not actually that old. That A group doesn't actually make everyone. I agree. I agree that A groups don't make everyone. That's why I was asking that question, that how did he assume that an A group made CT? Because that's actually the evolutionary idea, is that A made CT. But that's not true. That's why we looked at the reconstruction of Outer Africa not having enough proof, because A doesn't make CT. A doesn't make CT nor BT groups. A and B is its own lineage. A and B is its own lineage. It's not as long or as old as the evolutionary theory tries to make, which Dr. Nathan Jeanson also understands that. He understands that A and B is not that long, nor is the mutation rate that long. It's not that long, nor is the mutation rate that long. The Outer Africa concept is false. But at the same understanding is that he doesn't even see that he's doing that. That's what he's doing. He's making A create CT to link F, G, and H and D, E, because that's the only way you can connect those, if you make A bound with D, E, and F, G, and H, which doesn't make sense. You see what I'm saying? Because F-M89, again, F-M89 actually does make F-M89 actually does make IJK. That's what makes it important. A and B doesn't make IJK. A and B cannot make IJK because A and B, A haplogroups can't make CT. So that's the cutoff right there, CT, that A cannot make CT. So we know that J and A are not related in that way. A and B haplogroups can't make a J. but F-M89 makes a J. That's what's important. F-M89 makes GHIJK, right? Involving R's and T's and all those things in between. So that's the understanding of it, is that the design and fundamentally the design, the monophylactic design doesn't make sense because he's involving F-M89.
And if in fact we find that they're fast, now there's a big problem for evolution. So if that was what the question was after, that's how I'd answer it. Again, if I've misunderstood it, then we'll have to revisit it.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy question to follow, but I hope that's answered the question. Now I'm going to ask a question.
No, he missed the question. That's what happened. He related it to evolution and completely missed the question. He didn't understand the question. So again, the actual question was actually, how is it that, I'm just going to go back a little bit. How is it that he's getting an A right here, right? Because I already went over this monophylactic design, that it didn't make sense at all. And I asked multiple geneticists. I had multiple geneticists to contest of it. I could show that, no doubt. But this is the understanding that F-M89 makes IJK. That's the most important thing, is that F-M89 makes IJK, right? That's just a solid fact. But we also know that A doesn't make CT. And we know that the evolutionary design thinks that A makes CT. We understand that the design of evolution thinks that A makes CT, which he knows is not true. He knows that A doesn't actually make everyone. A doesn't link to people in that way. A is not linked to monkeys, and we don't evolve from A from monkeys. So that's why I was saying that, because I know that he understands that the evolutionary idea is false. So I was making the conclusion, but I understand that he probably didn't see the paper called Reconstruction of Outer Africa not having enough proof. It just made me understand he didn't see that paper yet. He never seen that the way that, because they already tested the mutations. They already tested the way that those mutations work. And they know that F-M89 does make everything underneath it, but A and B doesn't. A and B doesn't make CT. But CT splits into two groups, into DE and CF. So if we know A doesn't make CT, it can't make DE nor make CF groups, because A and B is a different lineage, CF is a different lineage, and DE is a different lineage. So those three different lineages, we can get all those on a boat, no problem. But what we can't get on a boat is A and B as one with D and E with your original C and your F and your G and your H groups. We can't get those on a boat without causing a genetic dilemma. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. It would make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense, because F-M89 making IJK. But I just wanted to say that. I just want to make the statement real fast. Yep. No. CT is a fossil. CT is not theoretical. CT is actually a fossil. CT is a found fossil. We got a few CT haplogroups. In fact, in the Natufian finds, there are CT groups. A lot of people say J are Jews. There we go. All right, there we go. If you can hear me now. But yeah, a lot of people actually say the J groups are Jews. So Jeanson actually says the J group are Japheth. So that's what I'm saying is like the geneticists don't agree. The geneticists do not agree. They don't agree. Even creationist geneticists, they don't always agree. And I think it's disingenuous genuine to sell a book. I think it's not honest to sell a book. He calls it, was it, traced? And he's selling a book on this concept that's not correct. That's not all the way 100% correct. So just to make it clear, the question didn't really get answered because the question was basically talking about A haplogroups not making CT groups. Therefore, a Hamite can't make a Japhenite nor a Shemite because he concluded that F-M89, right? Just show that little chart real fast. He concluded that F-M89. Let me see if I went too fast past it. I'll go back a little bit. Right here. He concludes that F-M89 are Hamites, but F-M89 makes IJ and K groups. So that's the conclusion, is that we know that CT doesn't come from A. So we know that A and B is different. And we know that everything from DE is one group. In fact, that's the YAP groups. It doesn't even make sense when you understand what the YAP is. How is it that the A and B, which doesn't have a YAP, and the C, F, and H and G, which doesn't have a YAP, are related to the YAP groups? How is that even possible? So it's so much concepts that don't make sense when you look at the whole picture. When you look at the whole picture, it doesn't make sense at all. The only way it can make sense if you really don't know much about genetics, if you don't know how these groups are, how they uh, degrade, how they come from each other, because we know that A and B groups are different. A and B doesn't make CT. A doesn't make CT. So that's a different group. That's the Hamites. But from CT, you have a lineage that's completely formed together. And that's what we was talking about with the F group. We was talking about that we have a fossil of CT. We have a fossil of CT. We found a fossil of CT, and we know that CT is actually a combination of DE and CF. We know that DE and CF were one. And they split. They split, and DE became the YAP groups, and the CF groups became your C, which most of them became some of the basically the Indians and stuff like that, and the F groups created everything from GHIJK, GHIJK, HIJK, which is a fossil, IJK, which is a fossil, makes I and J, which he calls Japheth, and K, which he calls Shem. But remember, all those come from F-M89. So it goes F-M89, G, H, I, J, and then K-M89. From K-M89 comes your LT, your O, your M, your S, your K, your M, your Q, your R, which a lot of those come from P. But that's the understanding that we have to understand, is that F can't be a Hamite. It just doesn't make sense. You know, F cannot be a Hamite. It just can't. There's no way around it. To paint it as a Hamite just means that every single lineage underneath it has to also be a Hamite, because F makes all those lineages. Um, clear. I'm gonna go to another. Are Japhanites. If one is said Shemites, then both has to be. All right. So I think I'm losing audio. I might switch to my to the computer. So I think I'm losing audio or something.